After a long cab ride and getting confused and almost being hit by a truck, I finally made it to base camp, Huayna Potosí, and I'm staying in this little refuge here. Dinner's gonna be at 7, and I'm with a group of guys from various places in Europe, and they're gonna go summit the mountain tomorrow. Right now it's really cold, and it's gonna be a lot colder in the morning.
Punishment if not ready?
The lunch is possible going to Africa.
After the lunch?
After the lunch.
Ah, yeah, okay. Yeah.
And it's possible going midday.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I'm getting out of here about 9 a.m. That was probably one of the best breakfasts I've ever had in any refuge. Usually in the European refuges, they're cold breakfast with instant coffee and cold toast, but they served us fresh fruit, cereal with hot yogurt, and a couple fried eggs. There were 3 young guys from France, Netherlands, and England. They paid to go on a guided summit of Huayna Potosí tomorrow, so tonight they're headed up to their high camp and they're going to head out to the summit at midnight. My stomach right now is not feeling too well. I think there might have been something at breakfast that didn't agree with me, or just the environment, is not very sanitary. I've been feeling a little bit nauseous, but I don't think I'm going to throw up. I hope not. I've only gone probably, 3 miles so far, but I'm feeling a lot better than I was this morning. I was feeling a little bit sick, but it's worked through my stomach, whatever that was. Anyway, the weather started off nice this morning. Now this dark system has rolled in from the northeast. I'm a little worried about getting some precipitation tonight. There's a cold wind blowing, but the good thing is it's cool, so I'm moving faster. Okay, I changed my mind. I was getting too cold. I put on my fleece. I was afraid the wind was just gonna sap my energy for the day. On the way down from the pass, it was pretty darn cold, so I put my light down jacket on, and of course here the sun has come out and I'm starting to warm up. But right now I'm walking through what looks like some pretty old ruins. They don't look pre-colonial, I can't really tell, but they look a few hundred years old, and it does look like some herders are living here still. I'm entering the town of Tuni right now, and I need to pass through it. There's a lake here, I think. But anyway, I was talking to a guy in the van back there, and he's a guide. But he said it was like 3 more hours to the refuge, so I hope that's not true. I hope I can get there in 2. But even so, as long as the trail is clear, then I'll be able to get there in the dark. I'm pretty sure I am not allowed to take this road to the lake. But it does look like there's a trail here, and it looks like there's someone walking along the trail. So I don't know, it looks like a herder. We'll see if this goes. Otherwise, I might be tenting in this town or staying in this town. I just spoke with a young French woman who's staying here at this eco lodge, and she says it's pretty good. So I think I'm gonna give it a shot rather than walk in the dark, because I'm feeling kind of wiped out right now. Okay, espero aquí. I wanted to keep going, but I was just too wiped out. I couldn't, I really didn't want to be walking in the dark, uphill. And, I've just been having stomach trouble. I didn't think it was a good idea to, if I was feeling sick, to spend the night in, 20-degree weather in a tent. Well, I had hoped that I'd be eating with the French travelers that were here, but they're in a different building, so I'm eating alone. Overall, it looks like a pretty hearty meal. I've got some soup here with some bread, a little bit stale bread in it, but that's okay because it gets wet. A couple hot dogs. I don't know exactly what these are. French fries, rice, some tomatoes, which I hope don't make me sick. At this point, I think my stomach might have gotten used to everything. And this is like a guava juice. Okay, this is fried cheese. Kind of salty, but it's nutrition. Reminds me of when I was a kid and when I liked hot dogs. I think that was one of the loneliest dinners I've ever had in my life. One of the biggest limitations I have is my battery backup. I'm afraid that given the conditions of the trails here and the navigation, if I don't get perfect weather and the trails just don't pan out, I'll probably have to bail out early because I really only have enough power for about 5 or 6 days. So tomorrow I'll probably dump a little bit of food just to, lighten up the load a little bit, and we'll see how it goes over the next few days. Honestly, if it's looking like I'm going to get myself into a situation where I can't complete the trip, I'll just have to bail out early and probably stop 20 or 30 miles short. I really wanted to see Surata, but, sometimes stuff doesn't work out. One thing I can't complain about is the price. 90 Bolivianos, which is around 15 US dollars, I think. And, it includes bed, running water, soap, breakfast, dinner, protection from the elements. There's no heat, but there is electricity, so I can recharge my phone. So, I can't complain. Getting out about a little after 7 now, 7:20, a little later than I had hoped. But I had a nosebleed. The air here is very dry and it's very dusty, so I'm constantly congested, and when I blow my nose, sometimes it bleeds. That was a pretty rustic experience. It's really interesting. I've never stayed in a little village like this. I was a little disappointed that I had dinner alone because I was really looking forward to chatting with the French tourists that were there and talking about their trip. I was chatting with one of the guys, and he and his wife were taking a year sabbatical and just touring what sounded like all of South America. So, and there was another younger woman there, Selene, who was doing some ecotourism. I wanted to ask them about their trips, but unfortunately, I was just off in my own building. If I'm not mistaken, those guys that I met at the refuge the other night should be on the summit of Huayna Potosí right now, or pretty soon. So, looks like they got a perfect day. I got off route for a little bit. I'm just blindly following Gaia right now. Also, both my phone compass and the Gaia compass are off by like 90 degrees or something like that. I just checked it against my watch compass and my watch compass is correct. I'm just checking the GPS incessantly and hoping I'm going in the right direction. I just checked the weather forecast on my Garmin. It said 0% chance of precipitation. And now it's snowing. And now all these llamas want my food. It's 5:45 right now. The sun is just beginning to go down. I've probably got 30 minutes of daylight left. I just asked those guys in the tractor there if I could sleep next to the river. They said sure. I have got to find a tent site, set up, pump some water, and tonight I'm actually really excited about eating my freeze-dried biscuits and gravy because I have fuel. I think it's gonna be good. I really lucked out near the end of the day. I managed to find a road that led down the steep slope that I thought I was going to have to basically cross country and negotiate with a GPS in my hand, which is really difficult on a steep slope. So in the end, I made it to this camp by sunset, and tomorrow we'll be telling. I'm gonna wake up at 5 and try to get to that trail junction where Gaia apparently thinks there are no trails, but other people have walked those trails. So we'll just see what happens. I'll make the decision tomorrow. Right now, I'm going to enjoy my biscuits and gravy with a big glob of butter in them. I actually had a decent night's sleep last night. I wasn't gasping for breath as much as I was the previous nights, so I think I'm acclimatizing a little bit more each day. I woke up at 5 today because I'm gonna try to get an early start on that trail, and I've really got to get to that trail that is no trail that some people have taken and figure out if it's really viable. And if it's viable, then it seems like it's going to be a lot of cross country. And if not, then I just have to figure out where I'm going to go from there. This morning I started coughing up a little bit of blood, so I'm probably gonna call it quits pretty soon. So I think it would be irresponsible of me to keep going. It's been an interesting hike. It's been a real tough, challenging hike with really interesting landscapes and terrain and an environment. I can see the shores of Lake Titicaca over there. I know I shouldn't find that name funny, but I do. And what I'll probably do is I'll hitchhike to Copa Cabana and check it out. I'm really trying to decide what to do. The main route that I was going to follow just is too steep. On the other hand, it might take me like a full day of hitchhiking to get to Cabana, I am kind of wondering if it would be better if I tried to maybe traverse at a lower route until I get to a main highway and just kind of keep an eye on myself as I go north. Because I'm not coughing really bad, it's just that sometimes when I cough up blood. And that, you know, makes me nervous. So I think what I'm gonna do is try to kind of cut some middle ground here, and I'm gonna stay low. The only issue is water. I need to make sure that my route intersects water. I'm looking back at where the actual west traverse route is supposed to be based on other people's GPS, and it passes through that notch up there between those two peaks. That's the only GPS track that I've got, and that to me is just ridiculous. I don't see how I would even be able to complete that today. So I'm headed off on the road now. I'm gonna start swinging north once I get to a lower point, and we'll just see how the ridges look. I'm actually at about 14,500 feet right now, which is actually higher than the Tibetan Plateau, I think. It's sunny out, which is nice, but the wind is really cold, so I had to put my fleece back on. I'm headed toward the northern end of the Cordillera Real right now, and I'm going to bypass some of the trail that was indicated by the GPS tracks that I was trying to follow, but I'm going to try to cut back in either at the Ilampu circuit or maybe a little bit sooner. But I can make so much faster progress on these roads than I can fighting the steep slopes with no trail. One thing I'm a little nervous about is that I am camped in the middle of like a sandbank in the middle of a river, but I am afraid I'm camped on someone's land because there's farm homes surrounding me. The problem was that there was just no other water for another few miles, and I was losing sunlight, so I had to camp somewhere. So I chose this spot. It seems to be as invisible as I possibly can be, and I just hope that no one comes and yells at me. Well, last night's dinner, which was biscuits and gravy, I kind of screwed up. I added too much water. And another thing I forgot to do when I repackaged all my freeze-dried food is I forgot to add at least salt and pepper. I usually add more spices to the different kinds, but so it was not only bland, but watery. But tonight's dinner, I think, is scrambled eggs and bacon, and with a big glob of butter, and this one I got right. So tonight's dinner is pretty satisfying. It's a little after 7 a.m. It took me about 2 hours to break camp this morning. I woke up at 5. I would guess last night it dropped into the low 20s because even the water bottles that I left inside my mitts started to ice up, and any water that I left out, like in a cup, my little metal cup, froze after about 5 minutes. So this is like the coldest morning I've experienced on this trip. Last night, a dog approached my tent and started barking because it saw my headlamp, and then I said, "Go!" and it ran away. But the dogs around here are not aggressive, but they're herding dogs, so they kind of like bark at you and tell you to go away because they don't want you near their herd. But this morning I had my poles out and shortened just in case I needed to stab at one. But today I've probably got about a 20-mile hike to intersect with the Ilampu circuit because I've dropped into the lowlands. I just couldn't make it through that mountain route without that trail. The navigation just slows you down way too much. As far as I can tell, I'm not coughing blood anymore. So hopefully things are looking up. as I pass by the local farmers here. Some of them just kind of stare, some of them say hello, some of them want to have conversations with me. But I have noticed that a lot of them actually have pretty nice cars. And if you're going to live out here, I mean, you got to drive far. So, and the roads are nothing but dirt and rock. But I just saw a farmer drive by in a Nissan Xterra. So at least they're getting money from somewhere, so to buy cars like that. Well, I just tried llama for the first time, and it was really good. At first I thought it was beef, but on the way to this town, a taxi driver stopped on the road and said, "Hey, you want to ride?" For 5 Bolivianos. I shaved about an hour off of my trip today, so I went in there and had llama and rice and potatoes and some really good soup, and I feel a little bit replenished. Now I need to find the main road that I need to go off on and head back toward the mountains. I just paid that guy 20 Bolivianos, which is about $3 to take me a couple miles up the road. He was saying for another 30, he would take me up to the lake. I just felt like I was kind of cheating too much by taking taxis everywhere. But I'm glad, because my body really needed the rest, and I think the next 3 days is actually gonna be pretty difficult. And then I've probably got a good 5 or 6 hours of hiking until I reach my campsite tonight up in the mountains. Well, I made it to the beginning of the Ilampu circuit, but I think I was about to get robbed by a family of Bolivians. It was odd. They picked me up on the side of the road. They offered me a ride for 5 Bolivianos. While they were riding, the young son was talking to me about how much gear I had in my bag and how much money I had in my bag, and did I have an arm, did I have a knife, did I have a pistol, was I afraid to be sleeping alone? And those are kind of strange questions. Anyway, when he dropped me off, the only thing I had was 100, and he said, "Okay, thank you." He took the 100 and didn't offer to give me any change. So, and I told him that was all the money that I had. So I have decided to keep walking this Ilampu circuit for at least another 5 miles to somewhere where a car cannot get to. It was very strange, especially considering there were 2 women in the back, I presume, you know, wife and sister. I didn't get a good look. Anyway, it just kind of freaked me out. So I'm not going to stay at that lake because there's road access there. So I'm going to just keep on walking this trail. I can see it now. I can see the camp. I was going to do this trail tomorrow, but those guys that gave me a ride and ripped me for 100 Bolivianos kind of freaked me out. So I think that gave me a good shot of adrenaline. Anyway, looks like I'm a day ahead of schedule now. So if you ever wonder how to make freeze-dried food better, add butter to it. And I always repackage my freeze-dried food, and I forgot to add spices to it. I usually add, like, this is lasagna with meat sauce, and I usually add like basil and salt and pepper to it. But yeah, just add a massive glob of butter to it and stir it around. And you know, turn it into this big, fatty pile of goop. And at the end of a long day and the beginning of a cold night, it is really good. Well, I finally got in my sleeping bag. My toes are still really cold. It usually takes them a while to warm up, but I guess I'm still a little shaken up from what happened today. I kind of feel like I was robbed, or at least I was being set up to be robbed, but they were nice about it. I kind of feel like they could have gone further, but they didn't. You know, 100 Boliviano is really only about $15. So they gave me a ride for a few miles, and I gave them $15. And they motivated me to get to this camping area, which really puts me a day ahead. So that's kind of worth the money. But still, yeah, I mean, on the way down, I was so pumped trying to beat the sunset that I was able to run on the flats and the downhill when the trail was good. And I guess that's why they call me Mountain Runner, or at least that's what I call myself. All right, time for bed. Good morning. It's about 20-25 degrees outside. There's frost on the inside of my tent, and my sleeping bag had frost on the top of it. That's actually pretty normal. Today I've got 20 miles to go to Sorata, and so today I've got a double shot. That's good, Joe. Crossing that was a fucking nightmare. And I had to cross this creek down here, which if I'd fallen into that pool, I would have been one cold. I think since that trail was mapped out, this area has turned into more of like a marshland, possibly due to just increased rain and increased melt of the glaciers. So now I'm gonna try to go up this grade here. It looks like a pretty gentle grade, and make it to the top of my last pass, and then as far as I know, it's all downhill to Sorata from there. Okay, slight change of plans. Rather than go to Sorata, because honestly, there's nothing really in Sorata that I want to see. The only reason I decided I was going to end there was because I thought I could make that last 20 miles in a day. I'd find a place to sleep, and then I'd get a taxi to Copacabana. There's a town that's closer to Copacabana, so the taxi, it would be faster for me to get to that town, and the taxi would be a little bit cheaper. So I'm headed to Achacachi or something like that. I can see it. It's on this huge ass plain over here. If I'm walking 2 miles an hour, it'll take me about 5 hours. If I catch a taxi, I could probably get there a little bit sooner, but I'm running low on Bolivianos, and I really don't want to hand out 20s to these taxi drivers. What's going on, llamas? What's up, donkey? I think I've got a couple more miles before I get to town, and then hopefully find a taxi to Copacabana. I managed to make it to this little town of San Pablo de Tiquina, and the cab driver drove really fast, and there were no seatbelts. His speedometer is broken, so I'll just give him the benefit of the doubt. It's actually a cute little town. It's probably one of the cleanest places I've been here in Bolivia, and now I'm going to take a boat over to the other side and try to get to Copa Cabana and get a nice hotel there. I asked the cab driver, what's the best hotel in Copacabana? And he said, El Rosario. I showed up and they got me a room. And the room is just really nice. I know it's strange to say, but I kind of feel guilty taking a hot shower because it felt so good. But I think after 10 days in the mountains, I earned that shower. Now, time for a nice dinner and a nice glass of wine.